I still remember the weight of silence in that mahogany-paneled dining room during our last family dinner together. The crystal chandelier cast shadows across my father's stern face as he methodically cut his steak, each precise motion radiating disappointment. My sister Sophia sat perfectly poised in her tailored blazer, discussing her latest courtroom victory, while I fidgeted with my laptop sleeve. The tension was suffocating. Nobody mentioned my tech startup or the sleepless nights I spent coding in my cramped apartment. To them, I was just the family failure playing with computers. Before I tell you how my father's words became the fuel for my billion-dollar success, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to see how this story of family betrayal turns into the sweetest revenge. Growing up in the Hamilton household meant living under a microscope of expectations. My father, Richard, was a corporate executive who measured success in corner offices and six-figure salaries. My mother, Patricia, a school principal, valued academic achievements and traditional career paths. Then there was me, Eva, the weird kid who preferred building websites to playing with dolls. From elementary school, I was different. While other children played house, I dismantled old computers in our garage, trying to understand how they worked. My parents tolerated my quirky hobby, assuming it was a phase I would outgrow. They were wrong. Sophia, my younger sister by 3 years, was everything I was not. Valedictorian of her high school class, Harvard Law graduate, and now a rising star at Brennan Chase, and Associates, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. She embodied everything my parents dreamed their children would become. Meanwhile, I had dropped out of my PhD program in computer science to chase what my father called pipe dreams. The confrontation had been building for months. My startup, still unnamed and operating from my studio apartment, was struggling to secure seed funding. I had exhausted my savings, maxed out credit cards, and was living on instant ramen and determination. Desperate times called for desperate measures, which led me to my father's study that fateful Saturday evening. The room smelled of leather and expensive whiskey. Law books lined the walls, and family photos showcased our picture-perfect moments that felt increasingly hollow. My father sat behind his massive oak desk, reading financial reports with the same intensity he brought to everything in life. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something important." I began, my voice steadier than I felt inside. He looked up, already wearing that expression of weary patience he reserved for my ventures. "If this is about money for your computer games, Eva, we have discussed this before." "It is not a game, Dad. It is a legitimate business with real potential. I just need $50,000 for seed funding. The market research shows." Market research. His laugh was cold and cutting. "Sophia just made partner, and you are asking for handouts to fund fantasies." I pulled out my laptop, desperate to show him the mock-ups, the user interface designs, the business plan I had worked on for months. "If you would just look at what I have built, enough." His fist slammed against the desk, making the crystal paperweight jump. "I'm tired of watching you waste your intelligence on these ridiculous pursuits. Your sister is a respected attorney, making real contributions to society, and you are playing with computers in your apartment like a teenager." The words hit like physical blows, but worse was coming. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out official-looking documents. My heart sank as I recognized the letterhead of our family attorney. "You want to know what real success looks like?" He began signing papers with aggressive strokes. "I'm transferring your trust fund to Sophia. All of it. She has proven she deserves it." The room spun around me. That trust fund, established by my grandfather, was supposed to be my safety net, my inheritance. Watching my father sign it away felt like watching him erase me from the family entirely. "You are a disappointment, Eva," he continued, not even looking up from the documents. "Sophia is a lawyer, and you are just playing with computers in your apartment." My mother stood in the doorway, her face pale but silent. Sophia entered behind her, uncomfortable with the scene unfolding, but powerless to stop it. The entire family bore witness to my public humiliation. But something strange happened in that moment of complete devastation. Instead of breaking down, I felt a calm clarity wash over me. This was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. "I understand, Dad," I said, quietly closing my laptop. "I will find my own way." I walked out of that study with my head held high, leaving behind not just my trust fund, but any expectation of family support. The cool evening air hit my face as I stepped outside, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. The first year after leaving my family's mansion was a masterclass in survival. I moved into a shared apartment in a questionable neighborhood, splitting a tiny two-bedroom with 3 other people. My roommates were an aspiring artist, a grad student, and a musician who practiced at all hours. The chaos was oddly comforting after years of my family's rigid structure. Money became an immediate concern. I took a job at a local coffee shop working morning shifts before returning home to code. The irony was not lost on me that I, a computer science graduate, was steaming milk for minimum wage plus tips. But every dollar earned through my own effort felt more valuable than any allowance I had ever received. It was during a coding boot camp that I met Marcus Chen, a brilliant developer with an entrepreneurial spirit that matched my own. He had been working at a tech company for 5 years, growing increasingly frustrated with corporate limitations on innovation. Our late-night conversations over terrible coffee led to the birth of our partnership. My startup idea crystallized during those early brainstorming sessions. Having watched Sophia navigate the legal world, I understood how much time attorneys wasted on research that could be automated. What if artificial intelligence could revolutionize legal research, making it faster, more accurate, and more accessible? The concept was ambitious, an AI-powered platform that could analyze case law, predict outcomes, and provide comprehensive legal research in minutes instead of hours. Marcus brought the technical expertise to make it possible, while I contributed business strategy and industry insight. We called our company Legal Mind, and our first office was the corner of my bedroom. We worked 18-hour days, surviving on pizza and determination. I continued my coffee shop job to pay rent, while Marcus freelanced to fund our server costs. Every spare penny went back into the business. The first investor meetings were brutal. Venture capitalists looked at us like we were children playing dress-up. "Too young," they said. "Not enough experience in the legal industry. The market is not ready for this kind of disruption." Rejection after rejection piled up, but each no only strengthened my resolve. The breakthrough came through Sarah Chen Marcus's former colleague, who had left corporate tech to start her own consulting firm. She became our mentor, teaching us the nuances of fundraising, product development, and scaling a business. Sarah had faced similar dismissals as a young entrepreneur and recognized our potential when others saw only inexperience. "The best revenge against people who underestimate you," she told me during one of our weekly coffee meetings, "is massive success." Through Sarah's network, we connected with an angel investor group focused on legal technology. After 6 grueling pitch sessions and countless revisions to our business plan, we secured our first investment, $250,000, for 15% equity. That check felt like validation of everything I had sacrificed. I immediately quit the coffee shop and threw myself completely into building Legal Mind. We hired our first employee, a brilliant UX designer named Jessica, and moved into a real office space shared with several other startups. The development phase tested every skill I had acquired. I learned to negotiate contracts, manage personnel, and present to potential clients. Each challenge forced me to grow beyond the sheltered person I had been in my father's house. The woman emerging from this crucible was stronger, more confident, and absolutely determined to succeed. Most importantly, I maintained radio silence with my family, except for occasional text messages with my mother. She would send updates about family events and ask how I was doing, but I never mentioned the company. Part of me wanted to protect my fragile dream from their skepticism, but another part enjoyed having something that belonged entirely to me. 18 months after that devastating night in my father's study, we launched our minimum viable product. The first version of Legal Mind was rough around the edges, but it worked. Legal professionals could upload case parameters and receive comprehensive research reports generated by our AI algorithms. What previously took paralegals hours to complete our system delivered in minutes. The early user feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Law firms began requesting demos, legal journals wrote about our innovation, and competitor companies started taking notice. We were no longer just playing with computers in an apartment. We were revolutionizing an entire industry. Year 2 marked the acceleration phase of our journey. Word about Legal Mind spread through legal circles faster than we had anticipated. Law firms that initially dismissed us as inexperienced upstarts began requesting meetings. Our user base grew from hundreds to thousands, then tens of thousands. The transformation was remarkable. Major law firms across the country adopted our platform, including several competitors of Sophia's firm. The irony was delicious. The legal industry my father respected so much was embracing technology created by his supposedly disappointing daughter. Our artificial intelligence algorithms became increasingly sophisticated. We introduced predictive analytics that could estimate case outcomes based on historical data, judge preferences, and legal precedents. The platform evolved from a simple research tool into an indispensable strategic resource for legal professionals. Marcus and I complemented each other perfectly. He focused on technical development while I handled business operations, client relationships, and strategic planning. Our team expanded rapidly, attracting top talent from both technology and legal sectors. By our second anniversary, Legal Mind employed 43 people across 3 departments. The Series A funding round exceeded our wildest expectations. After months of presentations to venture capital firms, we secured $15 million, led by Andreessen Horowitz, with participation from several other prestigious investors. The valuation placed our company at over $100 million, making Marcus and me millionaires on paper. Success brought new challenges and opportunities. I started receiving invitations to speak at technology conferences about artificial intelligence in legal services. My presentations drew packed audiences eager to understand how young entrepreneurs could disrupt traditional industries. The shy girl who once struggled to speak up in family dinners was now commanding stages in front of hundreds of legal and technology professionals. Media attention followed business success. Forbes featured me in their 30 Under 30 list for law and policy innovation. TechCrunch wrote a cover story about Legal Mind's rapid growth. The Wall Street Journal profiled our company as an example of how artificial intelligence was transforming professional services. Each article felt like another step away from my father's definition of disappointment. The personal transformation was equally dramatic. I traded my startup uniform of jeans and hoodies for tailored blazers and designer clothes, appropriate for boardroom meetings. My apartment upgraded from shared housing to a downtown loft with city views. Success was not just professional, it was deeply personal vindication. Yet throughout this meteoric rise, I maintained distance from my family. Occasional text messages with my mother provided updates on everyone's lives, but I never revealed the extent of Legal Mind's success. They knew I was still working on my computer company, but they had no idea their disappointment had become a technology mogul. The decision to pursue an initial public offering emerged during our 3rd year. Investment banks began circling, eager to take Legal Mind public. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and J.P. Morgan Chase all pitched their services for what everyone believed would be one of the most successful tech IPOs in recent memory. Our company valuation had reached $2 billion based on revenue growth, market penetration, and future potential. The legal technology sector was exploding, and Legal Mind was positioned as the clear market leader. Going public would provide capital for international expansion while creating substantial wealth for our employees and early investors. But my motivation for the IPO was not purely financial. 3 years of silence from my family, 3 years of proving myself without their support had built to this moment. I wanted them to see exactly what their disappointment had accomplished. The preparation process was exhaustive. Months of financial audits, legal reviews, and regulatory filings culminated in our roadshow presentation to institutional investors. Marcus and I traveled across the country, presenting our vision to pension funds, mutual funds, and investment managers, who would ultimately determine our public market value. Every presentation reinforced my confidence that we had built something truly special. Our technology was not just innovative, it was revolutionary. We had created artificial intelligence that made legal professionals more effective while reducing costs for clients. The market opportunity was enormous, and we were just beginning to tap its potential. The IPO date was set for a Tuesday in November. NASDAQ agreed to host our opening bell ceremony, and financial media planned extensive coverage of what they predicted would be the largest legal technology IPO in history. I made a decision that would close the circle on this entire journey. I invited my parents to attend, as my guests. Without revealing my role in the company, they would be watching go public. The morning of our IPO ceremony felt like stepping into a dream. NASDAQ's headquarters buzzed with energy as television crews set up cameras and financial journalists prepared for what everyone expected to be a historic day. The opening bell ceremony was scheduled for 9:30 a.m., and by 8 o'clock, the observation deck was packed with investors, employees, and media representatives. My parents arrived precisely on time, looking appropriately impressed by the spectacle surrounding them. My mother wore her best navy dress, while my father sported his most expensive suit. They had no idea why their estranged daughter had suddenly invited them to witness a technology company going public, but curiosity had overcome their usual skepticism about my ventures. I watched them from across the trading floor, my heart pounding with anticipation of the revelation to come. Sophia had accompanied them, looking elegant in her lawyer attire, checking her phone repeatedly for updates from her own demanding career. They stood together, the perfect family portrait, completely unaware that their disappointment was about to ring the opening bell. Marcus stood beside me, both of us wearing matching navy blazers, emblazoned with the Legal Mind logo. Our employees filled the surrounding area, many of them holding small American flags provided by NASDAQ for the ceremony. The energy was electric, a culmination of 3 years of relentless work and unwavering belief in our vision. At 9:15, NASDAQ officials began gathering the opening bell participants on the platform. As Chief Executive Officer and co-founder, I would have the honor of ringing the bell that would launch Legal Mind as a publicly traded company. Television cameras focused on our group as financial reporters provided commentary about the significance of this moment for the legal technology sector. I walked toward the platform, and my father's face went white. Recognition dawned slowly his expression, shifting from confusion to shock to something approaching awe. My mother grabbed his arm, her mouth falling open as she realized the truth. Sophia stopped checking her phone entirely, staring at me with wide eyes. The NASDAQ president introduced me to the assembled crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eva Hamilton, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Legal Mind, the legal technology platform that has revolutionized how law firms conduct research and case analysis. Television cameras captured my father's stunned expression as I stepped forward to address the crowd. 3 years ago, someone told me I was just playing with computers in my apartment. I began, my voice steady and confident. Today, those computers have created a company valued at over $5 billion by the market. The opening bell ceremony was everything I had imagined and more. As the bell rang at exactly 9:30 a.m., Legal Mind began trading on NASDAQ under the ticker symbol LMND. The stock price opened at $42 per share and immediately began climbing as investors competed to buy shares in our company. By market close, Legal Mind stock had reached $68 per share, giving our company a market capitalization of over $5 billion. The IPO raised $800 million for expansion, while creating substantial wealth for everyone who had believed in our vision from the beginning. My father approached me after the ceremony, his usual commanding presence replaced by something resembling humility. "Eva, I had no idea," he said, his voice barely audible above the celebrating crowd. "I owe you an apology." The conversation I had imagined countless times during those difficult early years was finally happening, but it felt different than expected. Instead of anger or resentment, I felt a calm sense of closure. "I know you were trying to protect me," I replied honestly, "but sometimes protection feels like limitation." My mother hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face. "We are so proud of you," she whispered. "We always were, even when we did not know how to show it." Sophia's response surprised me most. "Your platform has revolutionized how our firm handles research," she admitted with a genuine smile. "I have been using Legal Mind for months, without knowing my sister created it." The reconciliation felt natural, built on mutual respect rather than obligation. My father acknowledged his mistake in dismissing my ambitions, while I forgave his inability to understand a world so different from his own experience. We established new boundaries for our relationship, one based on who I had become rather than who he had wanted me to be. Over the following months, my parents made genuine efforts to understand my work and celebrate my achievements. Family dinners resumed, but the dynamic had fundamentally shifted. I was no longer the daughter seeking approval. I was a successful entrepreneur who chose to include family in my life. The healing process was gradual, but profound. Years of feeling inadequate and seeking validation from others slowly gave way to an inner confidence built on genuine accomplishment. I learned to value my own opinion over external approval and to measure success by my own standards rather than others' expectations. Our startup team became a second family bound together by shared struggles and mutual success. Sarah Chen continued mentoring me as both business advisor and friend. Marcus remained my closest collaborator and trusted co-founder. These relationships built on respect and shared values provided the support system I had always craved. Most importantly, I discovered that true success was not about proving others wrong, but about proving myself right. My father's harsh words that night in his study had wounded me deeply, but they had also freed me from the need for his approval. Sometimes the greatest gift is being underestimated because it forces you to discover your own strength. The financial success was gratifying, but the personal growth was transformative. I learned that family love should be unconditional, not performance-based. I discovered that my worth was not determined by others' opinions, but by my own integrity and effort. Most importantly, I realized that disappointment is often a reflection of limited imagination rather than actual failure. Standing on the NASDAQ platform that November morning, surrounded by cameras and celebration, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought me there. Every rejection, every struggle, every moment of doubt had contributed to this triumph. Even my father's disappointment had played a crucial role in shaping the person I had become. 3 years later, as I stood on that NASDAQ stage, I realized my father had given me the greatest gift of all that day in his study. He had given me the freedom to become who I was meant to be. What challenges have you turned into opportunities in your own life? Share your stories in the comments below, because I would love to hear how you have overcome disappointment to create your own success. If this story inspired you to pursue your dreams, despite others' doubts, Please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about turning setbacks into comebacks. Share this video with anyone who needs motivation to believe in themselves. And remember that sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming everything others said you could never be. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and may you find the courage to prove your own worth to the person who matters most, yourself.